you. Sometimes we just need the wins.
Yep.
And that's we always tell our families, no shoes, no shirt, no problem, right? If you are able to just show up, we will accept you how you are, because we all need to be able to be loved. Because if we're raising a family, we have stress that we can feel accepted. And when we have a concern, or like we can see it in the mom's face that they're just holding it together, that it's okay. Because everybody else that's sitting around you has been there or are also going through it at the same time.
Well, sometimes it just takes a hand on the shoulder. Sometimes it takes a hand on hand or a hand on the knee and say, you know what? We've got this. We'll do this together. We'll get you better. We'll help your baby out.
Right. So like I'm going to like all the hormones, like that's why testosterone is so low.
Yes.
Right. We are making our men more female oriented,
We're making them
which
sedative.
then pushes our women into taking more of a masculine role.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and as always, I have my amazing, wonderful wife with me, my co-host, Dr. Julie Wyss. You know what, Dr. Julie, I couldn't do this without you. I just wanted to say thank you. It is always so wonderful to have you here, to have your voice, to have your knowledge, and to have you on this show with me, and to be able to put this message out every week for our public, for here in Green Bay and Northeast Wisconsin. I just wanted to say thanks. It's just really nice to have you here.
Well, thank you. I think it's just that vitally important that we have a message every week for our families. And let's face it, no matter however people are consuming their information, whenever there is an issue with our kids or something pops up, traditionally people are going to go to Dr. Google. Or they're going to go to social media. And if you're in different moms groups, parenting groups, you know, you might get recommendations or diagnoses from your doctor and your provider. But these moms are also looking for support and community. My struggle is, and my concern is, when these moms are seeking that information from a social platform and then taking everybody else's recommendations. So I'm happy to be here every week with you, if it's solely just to be able to help one person or one family, just to be able to give maybe the doctor perspective or the doctor side that, you know, definitely needs to be heard. Sometimes it's tough love or something that you don't want to hear, but that's also why we have room for love and we're non-judgmental, because ultimately, if you don't know, you can't make a change and you can't help or serve your family. And that's what this podcast is for.
It is. It's designed for families to help raise healthy families and to not feel judged, to not feel like you're being ridiculed. It is designed to just help you see a different perspective on how kids and families can be raised and as healthy as possible, and to disseminate information and to get you the right information. I feel that a lot of the times, like you had said, sifting through the countless recommendations from people who honestly aren't really even qualified to give you a recommendation, whether it's people that don't have the certifications they need to have or don't have the knowledge just from sheer raising 10 kids. Like, there's a lot to be said about that. A mom that has raised multiple babies, healthy babies, her advice is invaluable. It is amazing.
Well, and it's like you might come to that social post for one concern. And you're looking for that concern. You're going to get recommendations, or this is what worked for us. But everybody on that post doesn't know the background, everything else that you've maybe tried, or the intricacies for your child or for you. And so that's where I just urge, like, social media is great for community and great for support when we need a shoulder, when we need to feel heard or listened to, or to be able to vent. But I think we just need to refocus where we're truly getting that information from when it comes to raising a healthy family, and when we're looking at diagnoses or struggles that our kids are going through, because there is some old, outdated information, even from within, from doctors giving recommendations, or nurses, whatever profession. And in that instance, we have to take that information, but we then need to sift through it and, okay, what is best for my family? What is best in this situation? And then maybe when we have those couple of options, that's when we go back to our provider and say, hey, this is some other things that I maybe came up with, or my circle helped me to come up with these options. Can you help me to walk through these? These are more things that I want to have answers about. So that's how social media should be treated, as to, okay, this is what's going on. What do you got for me? Take that information, then bring it in for that second opinion.
I think that segues wonderful into today's topic, because today's topic is all about trying to raise kids as stress-free as we possibly can, stress-free parenting, because
it's
October
hard.
is Emotional Wellness Month, and we've seen a lot of emotions come out in the last few months. This time of year is always hectic. We're coming into the holidays, where we've got, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, which is extremely stressful. And then you have the first of the year, and then there's taxes into February, and there's a lot that plays out, right? But this is the time of year where stress really gets heightened, especially during election season. And you have a lot of people that are very, very opinionated out there right now, giving you their opinion, feeling that, and to be honest with you, everything that we talk about, this is our opinion as well. We think it's pretty damn good, but it's our opinion as well. And it's hard to sift through everything. And then to decrease the stress on top of it is very tough. And trying to ask questions in an environment. So you went into talking about social media, which I think is wonderful to talk about right now, because we've got a lot of moms out there that have had babies in the last few months. September and October are very heavy birth months anyways.
Baby months.
Yeah, they're baby months. That's, if you think about it, that really is December, January, and February babies showing up in September, October, and also in August. So these babies are coming in and they're being born in a hyper-stressed environment. Most moms are going into birth super stressed out, even if it's their second, third, or fourth. Not sure if this is really the right time to bring a child into this world, knowing what's going on. Stress from family, people on them on when their birth is, when is the date, when is baby going to get here. And then after baby is on this side with mama, outside of mama, and then with her now, how do we then disseminate and start raising a family and trying to decrease the stress in our moms' lives? How can they start sifting through and finding trusted sources?
Well, they need to open the handbook, right? Didn't your baby come with a handbook?
My babies did not come with handbooks. Parenting did not come with a handbook.
I think when we first find out we're pregnant, that sets off a whole cascade of information, I think. But I think most women go in thinking, okay, I want to have the most hands-off, unassisted drug-free birth. And so that's how maybe that is how our birth story went. Maybe that's how birth went for us. Even if it wasn't fully like that, we chose to do maybe some unconventional things, right? I'm really just kind of all of the birth, maybe outside of I scheduled a C-section, right? Because those are two totally different things. But then after we have the child, we are choosing and looking for resources that are the complete opposite of how we wanted to bring our child into the world. Right? So we're looking at, okay, should I have this surgery? Should I do this? What kind of drug? How can I fix the things? Versus if we can go back to the same way that we wanted to live our lifestyle during pregnancy, of a hands-off, really natural. And it's hard to find sometimes those resources. And so I think if we just unplug from the media and the day-to-day of how everybody else is living our life, and we refocus and retarget of, I really just want to, and we could go people oh, I live off the grid, right? But I think sometimes we need to think unmainstream that way for us to just move the needle a little bit, and go back to gardening practices and okay, like our body is designed to heal itself. What is missing in my body if I have a wound that's not healing? If my child is constantly getting ear infections, what's happening in my body that's causing that? Why is my ear not being able to flush on its own to push those things out? My child's constantly getting sick. Well, what are we putting in the body? What is the body lacking? And if we start to look at the medicine cabinet within our body and the things that God has given us within the earth and our trees, that I think will start to bring us more well-rounded. It'll allow us to be able to think within our reach of how we can raise a healthy family. Things like medical bills are skyrocketing.
Yes, they are.
What people have to pay for health insurance, right? But it's not health insurance. It's for major medical issues.
Well,
it's
sick care.
if we're in an auto accident, if we, we have cancer or a stroke, like serious things, that is what our health insurance is for. It's to assure us that when life's big things happen, that we have backup. We have things to help us pay for those. But if we want to be living and raising a healthy family, we can't be tied to the health insurance model. We need to have our resources to be able to have the funds, the wherewithal, the knowledge to be looking at, okay, some bumps and bruises. How can I handle that at home? Where is my toolkit for that?
Yeah, and I think it's going from that level of finding that toolkit and then putting these things together, because a lot of the times parenting, unbeknownst to what we'd like to think, that there's going to be a village there to help us, we are a little bit on our own at times. But we let ourselves be on our own because we refuse to ask questions. And that's one of the biggest things, is that you refuse to ask questions. You think you can do it all yourself, and rightfully so. Being a first-time parent, when we had Peyton, we did think we could do it all ourselves. We kind of tried to write our own handbook, and then 2 days into it, we realized that there were more smarter people around us that had raised incredibly healthy children, and why were we not just talking to them?
And that takes a strong personality, a strong will to, and you're not admitting defeat. Like you are opening up to let others empower you in your decision.
Yeah, and then a lot of our moms, first-time moms, their moms come and help the first week, maybe 4 or 5 days. And sometimes that advice might be really good. Sometimes that advice might be a little opposite of what you're trying to raise your child. And you might hear, well, you turned out fine, so we're going to do it this way type situation. But a lot of things have changed since then. And it's now understanding who you're going to develop your trust in. How do you develop trust? How do you start developing a relationship with those people in your life that can give you health advice and you can go to? That is the key. And that is actually the point of this podcast, is to develop trust and relationship with every one of you out listening to us, so that we can start help you and your family and raise them as healthy as possible. And you can come to us for answers and not feel judged, not feel like you're put onto an island, not feel like you're a bad parent. Because a lot of moms and dads, there's a lot of shame in that.
Yeah, you get it everywhere else.
Yes.
I can rest assured you're not going to get it here because everybody else can handle that for you. Sometimes we just need the wins. And that's, we always tell our families, no shoes, no shirt, no problem, right? If you are able to just show up, we will accept you how you are, because we all need to be able to be loved. Because if we're raising a family, we have stress, right? And it's not okay, I'm going to manage this and I'm going to work this. It's no, we need to have a community to be able to help raise our families. And we are such an alienated population, and our phones are what's doing that to us.
It is.
That is where we are living our life, and people feel safer at being at home because there's a lot of crazy people out in the world, right? And so I understand that structure and that to feel safe within our home, but we cannot raise our families that way unless you're going to live in a village and all the other families are going to be there with you. But that's not for the majority of society. We have a few of those, but that's not how the majority of us here within our local community and other communities, that's not how we live. So we have to be able to come out. We have to find the resources of where we can show up unfiltered, how we truly need to be in the world, not, show up for social media ready with our faces and our hair done, that we can feel accepted. And when we have a concern, or like we can see it in the mom's face that they're just holding it together, that it's okay.
Mhm.
Because everybody else that's sitting around you has been there or
Mhm.
are also going through it at the same
Well,
time.
sometimes it just takes a hand on the shoulder. Sometimes it takes a hand
That's
on
hard.
hand or a hand on the knee and say, you know what? We've got this. We'll do this together. We'll
Mhm.
get you better. We'll help your baby out. And I'm going to give you the best advice that I know I can give
Mhm.
you. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer. That's one of the biggest things that we've found that's established so much trust in our community here in Green Bay. And with what we've done here at Prime Family is if we don't know the answer, we don't know the answer, but we're going to figure it
Mhm.
out. If we know the answer, we're going to tell you the answer. If we think that you need to hear our opinion, we're going to give you our opinion if it's going to help the health of you or your child if you ask for it. We want to make sure that our moms feel comfortable, that they're heard, that they're seen,
Mhm.
and that we understand what's going on. That's the only way to build trust and to build these relationships. The other thing we look at, and you hit on this very, very well, which I love listening to you talk about this because families and moms do feel super stressed. And you talked about social media. You see social media like Facebook. Facebook was designed to create community. But the funny thing is that what it does is it creates a community in your brain with people socializing through media, through a cell phone, and not socializing face to face. So actually what it does is it actually isolates you from everyone around you. This is why depression has went up,
Mhm.
suicide rates have went up. People will tell you, especially single males, that they've never felt more separated from other men than they do right now in society. Women feel the same, but here is the differentiating factor with that is that women are designed to communicate verbally and through written language. Men are not. Men are designed for direct conversation, eye to eye contact, hunter gatherer society. We go out, we bring food back, we provide for our families, we work in a job, we like direct conversation, we like direct answers. We don't need a lot of communication back and forth. If you've ever been with men on a golf course, we don't
Mhm.
talk a lot. We joke around. We have a lot of fun. We don't stay real serious, but we're out doing a task. Where men then will feel extremely isolated when it comes to Facebook. They feel extremely isolated when it comes to Instagram because they can't create community. They are better off meeting at the gym, meeting at a skate park, meeting in the park. There needs to be more daddy meetups around to get dads together for us to talk, for us to raise men, raise boys and women with character and integrity. And you cannot do that through a screen. You just can't. Otherwise, I just park my son in front of G.I. Joe and let G.I. Joe teach him because G.I. Joe taught
But
me.
it's not even GI Joe,
Right.
right? So like I'm going to like all the hormones, like that's why testosterone is so low,
Yes.
right? We are making our men more female
We're
oriented,
making them
which then
sedative.
which then pushes our women into taking more of a masculine role. So we
Yes.
wonder why we feel so alienated
Mm-hmm.
because the hormones, like our bodies are just changing based upon the things that we hold in our hand or the lack of community that we have.
Well, women can't be women anymore.
Yeah.
And if you are feminine, if you are into your husband, if you are into women's rights, but you're still feminine feeling, you feel alienated, you get bullied, you're told that you're not a good mom. If you work and you're trying to provide for your family, you're told that you're not a good mom. There's a lot of roles going on that are shifting. And for some families, this works well, but for most, it doesn't. And it leads to a lot of stress. It leads to a lot of anxiety. It'll lead to a lot of division. So, what you can then do is you can turn to the people you trust to try to build communities in person. And that's what really does lead to stress free parenting. When parenting your children, is having a real community around you. The families that really thrive well internally because they've
Mhm.
created a really strong community inside their household where their children can come and communicate with them and talk and tell them things. They can laugh, they can joke, they can get mad at each other, they can go their separate ways in their house, but still come back over the dinner table, hopefully,
Mhm.
over a gathering thing, over games, things like that. But then taking that family outside and creating more communities, creating things that are designed to help us thrive and survive and not just help us become addicted to something in front of us. And it's the same thing. They did another study over 6 months, and what they found was that couples that actually do selfies together are actually the ones that are having more marital issues than the ones that don't. So when we're constantly putting photos of ourselves with our spouse in front of other people for validation, that's actually showing that we're having issues as a couple instead of doing things on camera together. It's a photo thing. It's not a video thing. So you're seeing husbands and wives out walking in the park with their camera on and showing their interactions is way different than a still photo. And it was very interesting. And what they were seeing is, this was a Harvard study done 6 months ago, and they were seeing divorce rates, and they're up 126% with couples that just do photos online of how perfect their life is or how perfect their marriage is.
And that's the struggle with social media, right? We don't know what we're truly getting. I mean, it makes sense. People talk about like a dating site, right? Like, well, is that really the person's profile? But you have to treat social media that same way. And with the merging of AI, we don't know whose voice that we are truly hearing. We don't know whose picture that really is. Everything's altered, filters. Like TikTok is great for filters, right? So we truly we're making, we're putting on all these different masks, but it's not truly us. And after we do that, like, we start tricking ourselves. So then we get to a point of like, well, how am I going to be able to show up? I need to look this certain way. And now we get scared and we get depressed and stressed because this person thinks that I look a certain way and I behave a certain way. When you actually meet, you don't even recognize that person.
Right.
And that's where like the mental capacity and why mental health is such, and the thing is, it can change. You can immediately change it right this minute. You can make a choice to change. And sometimes all you need to say is, you know what, I am just being authentic and this is how I'm going to show up today. And this is what it's going to be. And everybody else around you, they'll either agree with you or not agree with you. And you'll start to see the people who truly support you and love you for who you are. Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in a week, months, years. So why do we have to hide behind a phone and filters, stress our brains, which is killing our bodies, and have true mental capacity to be able to process these things? And when we can get rid of all that stuff, it's just so much easier to live life that way. Life isn't easy, right? So we need all of the things that we can to just ease the burden for us.
Right. You went so far down a lane that it's very correct. And I didn't want to stop you because I know you're speaking from the heart, and we see it all the time with our families and patients. And my validation for me comes from my wife, you, and my children. And if I see that I've let you down, or I see that I've let them down, that's all that matters to me, that I need to fix. And if I know that I'm not letting my wife down and I'm not letting my children down, I think I'm doing pretty good, because I'm not letting down anybody else in my life as well, and the patients that we get to see and the families that we get to see. And that's the whole point of this. So if we're trying to raise a stress-free family and have stress-free parenting, number one, you need to have trusted sources giving you advice. Number two, those trusted sources need to be giving you love. Make sure that you're feeling heard, make sure that you're being seen, and make sure that you're being felt as well, and your feelings are actually being acknowledged. And then how can we work together to help you raise happy and healthy kids? That's the whole point of this. So again, hold space for those families and those moms and dads that are new in your life. Don't hesitate to reach out and give them some advice if it's truly sounded in trust. Not just your opinion, but take your child here. Help your child out with this. This worked for us. This may not work for you, but this worked for us. This was the person we got this advice from.
I'm that lady in the store. Like, when I see something, I will just walk up, because it may be what that mom is looking for to hear. And it may not be something that she even has ever considered, or flat out she's like, absolutely not.
Right.
But I at least know that, okay, I gave the option. And that's where, as long as we know what our options are, we can live better and we can do better.
Yep.
If we have the answers for somebody else and we don't share that with them, it's a disservice to them and to our community and to the world.
It sure is. And I'll be honest with you, Dr. Julie, I have nothing else to add to this episode. It's been awesome. It went a route that I didn't think it was going to take, and it's fantastic because you know what? I always ask God to speak through us and tell us exactly what we're supposed to say, and it comes out right every time. So everyone out there, go out there, get it done. Subscribe, like, share this to as many people as you possibly can so we can talk to and help as many people as you know. Take care, everybody. Bye now.